What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So before I get into this video, I've got a couple of shout outs I want to give. I want to give a shout out to Gary Benson for his PayPal donation to the channel. He says, "Happy belated, bro. Thank you for donating. I guess it's a birthday present. I turned 41 the other day, Tuesday. So it was a good birthday for me. You know what I'm saying? Getting older, but getting better. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So shout out to Gary for that one. Also, I want to give a shout out to Elijah. I meant to give you a shout yesterday. He gave me a birthday present to $50 cash donation via Cash App. And Elijah, a good dude, gives good video ideas to me as well. And a real Golden State Warrior fan. I have some real Warrior fans on here. You know what I'm saying? Not like some of these fakes over the years. You know what I'm saying? Who all of a sudden just disappeared 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Him, Percy, who else? Casey, Steph Curry, the GOAT. These are some real Warriors fans. They still rock with them. When they bad, they rocks with them. They fucks with them. Not just when things are going good. You know what I'm saying? Just like some of these fake ass, not all of them, but most of these fake ass Nets fans. Do you know how hard it was for me to find a Nets fan 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Now all of a sudden all these Nets fans are everywhere. Get the fuck out of here, man. But the point of this video is I gotta get down on my knees and cry mea culpa, because hey, I was wrong. You know, well, sort of wrong. I doubted Paul George. Now I did say I could see Paul George giving one vintage performance, but can he do it twice? Now he's proven to me that he can do it. He definitely could do it. He did it in the most difficult fashion. He did it at Utah. So the Clippers won the critical game five. Final score 119-111 at Utah. And as a result, the Clippers lead this semifinal series 3-2. Paul George had 37 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 assists. Reggie Jackson had 22. Mann had 13. Morris had 25. Morris has had a really good series overall. And Kennard had 6, and Patrick Beverly 5 points. But of course, Patrick Beverly, whatever he gives you offensively is just an added bonus. Donovan Mitchell had probably the worst game, I guess, of the series for him. 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Well below his series average, which had probably been somewhere around 37 points a game. Now, Bogdanovich had 32. Rudy Gobert 17 points, 10 rebounds. Joe Ingles and Clarkson. Ingles only had 12 points. Clarkson 15. Um, this game was pretty much decided in the third quarter. And look, part of the reason why I wasn't feeling Paul George anymore is because, yes, in those Pacers teams, even though you could argue that the leader, the inspirational leader, the de facto leader was David West, but their best player, their best scorer, their leading scorer was Paul George. And he had been comfortable in that position, even though a lot of times in the clutch, Paul George would come up short in close context. Although I do remember, excuse me, I do remember him having some great individual performances against LeBron back when LeBron was in his prime with Miami. However, over the last couple of years, as Paul George has played with other stars, Russell Westbrook, but in particular with Kawhi Leonard, I think it really is really with Leonard. There's been an identity crisis with Paul George. What started with Paul George is this perception that in clutch games he can't be trusted is when he was in OKC, he had arguably the best season of his career. Okay, probably the best season of his career. He averaged 28 points per game that year. There was a stretch when he was averaging like 33 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Was shooting the lights out, getting triple doubles and hitting game winners against all various teams. He was just on fire, and he was a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year at one point in that year before he got injured. And then everybody kind of remembers that series against OKC, against Portland in the first round where Paul George played poorly, though he was injured. And since then, subsequently, when he was on the losing end in press conferences or in quotes, Paul George seemed to be making excuses for poor play. Then with the Clippers, there's been this identity crisis. Paul George is perceived as the sidekick. Sometimes I think because he's gotten comfortable in that position, for whatever the reason is, he's had times where he's been too, uh, I guess, he defers too much. There's been times where he's been passive. There's been games where he hasn't played well and he makes excuses. Some of the excuses seem frivolous. Um, there's been rumors of issues he's had, obviously with Doc Rivers and other things that go through the grapevine. I don't want to talk about too much. Um, so you saw what happened last year. You saw what happened in that game 7. Paul George had a horrible performance at the wrong time. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I just didn't have confidence in Paul George anymore as a guy that could consistently lead you. Even though I know the talent is there, I know the talent is there, but I wasn't trusting the mental aspect of this guy anymore. Um, but he went out there and he performed. Part of it could be, in his mind, he just reverted back to uh, his comfort zone, which is how he played in Indiana. Also, Paul George got a lot of his confidence back with his performances in this series. My only concern is if Paul George has a bad game 6. I mean, let's say he has a bad game 6. Will that affect his performance going into and the Clippers lose? How will that affect them in a game 7, a potential game 7? These are some things I think about. But I do know this: if Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, and if these reports are true, um, Kawhi may be done for the playoffs. If Paul George can take this team to the Western Conference Finals, if he could just do that and break the Buffalo curse. When I say the Buffalo curse, I mean the the perceived curse that this team can't get out of the second round. They've never been out of the second round in the 50-year history of this franchise, going back to when they were the Buffalo Braves. That would be a tremendous accomplishment, and I think that would really help toward atoning for the sins of the past. So, tell me what you guys think.